Introduction to the Math 99 workbook and the homework that you need to do before the first class. I'm Jeff. I'm the manager of the college prep department and principal of the AU department. Anyway, the math workbook starts out with the blurb at the beginning. The big point of the blurb is just that it's quite natural to be here. Um, Everybody forgets this stuff if they haven't used it in a while, and getting it back is a different process for different people. So with this course, what we've done is we created the workbook, and the workbook really just walks you through chunking everything into small chunks, going through it, practicing it enough so that you don't forget it before next week, and then moving on to the next chunk. Um, the book's broken up into a few sections. It starts with about 20 pages just on the timetables. Again, that's to break it up, give you practice. Then we've got some arithmetic stuff, which is just reminding you of the techniques for long division, long multiplication, making sure you haven't forgotten um, some of the little technicalities if you're subtracting larger numbers and you don't have a calculator nearby. Um, there's a little bit on divisibility and reducing, which becomes really, really important when you get to the fraction sections and later on in your programs when you're doing rates and ratios and proportions, um, figuring out the speed of the drip coming out into an IV or mixing and dispensing medicines. It comes out, it's much easier if you can do the divisibility quickly. So we've got a few little rules and tricks on that to make it a bit easier. We've got a section on adding and subtracting fractions. That's something I've found even people who have passed grade 12 math with really good marks, 2 years later, they can't add 1/4 plus 1/9. And it's just something that people forget. Then we've got dividing and multiplying fractions and some introductory work on decimals, order of operations, working with mixed numbers, which is where you've got a whole number and a fraction together and you have to add them, and that kind of thing. And at the very end of the book, we've got some practice exams. They're set up exactly like the final exam for Math 99. Um, and also, it's exactly the same as the assessment you had, just different numbers. But we've got a few copies there just so you can try it out and see if you can get the speed up. Again, we're going with this course for speed and accuracy. So the final exam for this class, unlike other classes you take where you have 3-hour exams, this one is 10 minutes long. But the idea is you have to demonstrate really good control over getting answers to this type of question without using a calculator. There are answer keys at the back, and those will let you check your answers just to make sure you've got everything right. The book starts out with just your basic multiplication times tables charts. This goes up to 12. It's a good idea to go up to 12. On the assessment, we only go up to 10. But having looked at what's involved with the nursing program and knowing what's involved in Math 101, if you're taking that next, the 12 times table definitely helps with that. And of course, the 11 times table is really easy because 9 times 11 is 9, 9, 4 times 11 is 4, 4. So it's not one of the tough ones. The one that's not on here is the 0 times table. And if you've forgotten, that's because everything times 0 is equal to 0. So 42 times 0, 0. 0 times 8, 0. So that wasn't really worth writing out. Then we've got the standard multiplication times tables, only up to 10 on this one. And again, you've probably seen it hundreds of times, just a case of remembering it. We've got then a blank, which you can try to fill in really, really quickly and then double check, make sure you got it right. If as you're going through this, you slow down and have to think somewhere, that's how you can identify where your particular weaknesses may be. For me, I taught junior high and senior high math for years. And I still have a little bit of trouble with the 9 times table for some reason. But everything that you guys are doing now, I had to do when I was 22, when I started teaching junior high math and realized that I did not know my times tables. I went through these steps back then, and I've kept everything with me right up until I was teaching grade 12 math. Then just for practice, there's another times table with some things filled in, some things not filled in. And another one practicing the same thing. Then what we have is the start of the main part. This is where you've got the basically the same thing as you get on the assessment, but we start out with a 1-minute drill. There are 30 questions on this page, and you really should be able to write down all the answers to this in less than a minute. That's 2 seconds a question. It's really fast, but again, it's just practice. If you can't, then it's time to switch over to one of the apps, and I've got some software, Mammoth Math. I think I've looked through about 10 of them, 15 of them. It's the best one to practice with, where you can just get the practice over and over to build your speed without losing any accuracy. Anyway, so there's a couple bits practice on that one. Again, the second one, 0 to 3. The third one, we get up to the 4 and 5 times tables. And then 1, 2, 3, or 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, mixing them all together. And then eventually you're going to get into there's a few of those. And then you get into the 6 and 7 times tables. And then they'll go on to the 8 and 9 times tables. And then one page on the 11 and 12 times tables. So again, there's a lot there. For some people, they may look at most of these and just ace it. So you'll probably find, no guarantees, but you'll probably find when you're doing the 1, 2, 3 times tables that you can do all 30 questions, get them all right inside 1 minute. But chances are, as you get up into the 4, 6, 7, 8, maybe 9, you'll run into some slowing down. When you do run into slowing down, go to the app. I'll show you that in a different video a little bit later. Anyway, once we're all the way done all of these, again, lots of practice makes it much more comfortable doing stuff later on. There's a little bit on place value. This is just kind of vocabulary. Every number, I'm sorry, it's sideways, but Every number has a decimal, and on the left side of the decimal, you got the ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, all the way up. And on the right-hand side of the decimal, you've got the fractions, the tenths, the hundredths, the thousandth going down. It's more on that when you get to the decimals. Then there's some basic arithmetic. I recommend you do these even if you're confident, because you may find a mistake here or there that is an indication of something you've forgotten, a little trick you've forgotten. It might be that your technique for doing the adding leaves you forgetting that underneath these sixes you should have a 3, because it doesn't add up to 12, it adds up to 13 because you've got extras carried over from the tens into the hundreds. Definitely try them out, make sure they work okay. The subtraction, we've had people in the past who have done fine in math, and the only questions they got wrong on the final exam were subtraction questions, again, because they'd forgotten the techniques and they hadn't practiced enough with on paper so that they caught their mistake and fixed it. Okay. And then we get into some longer multiplication. Same thing. If you think you know it, great. Try these out, check your answers, make sure that you know them as well as you think you do. And then we go on with division. And then we're into the divisibility rules. Okay, the big thing with this is it's an awful lot of responsibility on you to make sure you do enough practice so that you are total expert. This is the homework before the first class, which means that when you go into the first class, we'll give you a little quiz on it. But really, it's a good idea to be ready. If you're not quite ready on something, if you run into difficulties, the facilitator in the first class will work with you on how you can improve your strategy for getting through it and getting that real mastery. It is a really important skill, and it is honestly, for a lot of people who don't have this mastered, it means that the parts of the nursing program where math comes into it, mostly meds admin, that tends to be the hardest part of the entire program. But if you can get this down, it's much, much easier once you get there. Okay. And then there'll be the reducing fraction stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to look over the sheet that explains the pre-class homework for before class 1 carefully. Go through, do this, take the time you need. Honestly, for some people, it may be an investment of 30, 45 minutes. For some people, it may take an investment of 8 or 9 hours. But do what it takes to get to the point where you have mastery up to the required page numbers on that first sheet. Okay, so good luck. There is another video which covers setting up the Mammoth Math for the online practice. You can also get apps to put on your phone from the Play Store or iStore. But I do like the one that is included with this. And if you get practice on this one, it will help with this course anyway, just because when we're testing you for speed during the course, we'll be using this platform to get you there. So it's nice to have some practice with it to make sure that you don't appear slower than you really are just because of the difficulty entering the data on the system. Okay, I am going to stop the recording now and wish you a good day. I hope you have fun with this. You may not find it fun. But again, it is a really wise investment of your time to take the time that you need to get really, really strong with this. Thanks. And goodbye.